Hey girlies, I'm Jessica.
And I'm Rachel, and you're listening to the Game Day Girlies.
Welcome back, Game Day Girlies, to another week. How are we feeling?
Ooh, I'm feeling good. I'm hopeful that you're feeling good and that you recovered from a heart attack.
It was stressful, but I was resuscitated.
Yeah.
I was
I hear
resuscitated.
you. I hear you. It certainly was it was like one of those weeks where there were a lot of, good games, but and there were some games that were closer than they should have been and
Yeah.
all of the things. So I think overall this was like a good week of games where it wasn't like too crazy and like where you were like bumping around from 17 different channels, but also we got like some good quality football in. So
Yeah.
I'm here for
sure.
it. Right. And with that being said, we'll jump right into our week 12 games. We'll start off with the kind of hyped up game of the week. We have Tennessee at Georgia. And Tennessee did not kind of pull this one out, and Georgia overcame after their week last week at Ole Miss, their loss at Ole Miss, and won 17-31.
Yeah.
At the half, this was 17-17. So the Georgia defense did their job in the second half and certainly kind of showed up.
Yeah, so I actually fell asleep on this game. So when I went to sleep, it was 17-17. And I was like, oh, what a good game. What a good game. But I just couldn't hold on.
I hear you.
So I woke up, saw the score. I was like, oh, well, it is what it is. But I will say, I think the game lived up to its hype. I feel like a lot of or I won't say a lot, but some of the game day games this year have been very lopsided and not as hype worthy as they traditionally are.
Yeah.
And so I was really happy that this one was that. And then we saw Georgia come back to their normal form. So just in time to make their stamp for the playoffs. But
yeah, I'm just glad that they're improving. Because we talked a lot last week and, Mr. Beck was not doing very well. And quite honestly, he wasn't doing great first half, but he figured it out at the end, and that is all that matters. So
yes,
kudos to the dogs.
Speaking of figuring it out in the end, we have Clemson at Pitt, and I promise you, I was like, so this game looked early on like a blowout. Like Clemson looked really good in the first half. We were playing well, and I just don't know what happened in the second half. And then Pitt came back. Pitt took the lead, and there was 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and I was hyperventilating, about to die. And then we got a touchdown, and I was like, all right, I need this
game to end now. She was like, where are the overtime rules? Can it just be over?
Just wrap it up right now. So we did pull it out. This should have been a blowout though, Clemson. I'm disappointed. 24-20 at Pitt. I will say it was a good road win. It was chilly up there in Pittsburgh, so I'm gonna let it ride.
Truth. And at the end of the day, all Clemson, it doesn't necessarily, in these conference games, especially in week 12, the style points, it doesn't matter. You need to get the win.
Yeah, and we're done with the ACC. So thank God we did what we needed to do. We won. We won out.
Yes, exactly. And we'll talk a little bit more about this later. But yes, again, y'all got the win, and that's what it is. Yeah. Speaking of wins, Alabama, we beat the allegations of not playing well after a big win. Yes. So we took care of business with Mercer 7-52. And again, just we have obviously these two last SEC games that we have to win and to be sure that we're in good form for, and it's feeling like we are the team is playing well, and so that's what you want to see. So that's that.
Yes. Good.
Joyless what do they call it on Twitter? Joyless murder ball. This is what I missed. And we all complained about it at first, where it's like, oh my God, these games are so boring. No, I'm here for the boring games.
Yeah,
y'all gave us all of the headaches, the heart attacks. I'm tired of it. I need blowouts only.
I love blowouts for my team. Anything else can be a good game. You know what I mean?
100%.
And then speaking of another good game, we had Missouri at South Carolina. I knew this one was going to be good. And I'm happy that the one time I picked them, they did not let me down. South Carolina pulled it out and they won 30-34. Kind of stamp or kicking. I wouldn't say kicking out because a lot can still happen in these last couple weeks, but that kind of ended Missouri's run for the playoffs. So
for the playoff and for the SEC championship, because there was a potential that for there to be like a 6-way tie, and there would have to be a lot of things to happen if they were to get in now, and so it's likely not going to happen. So this kind of moves them out the way.
It makes it easier for some other people.
Exactly.
Now it'll be a 5-way tie.
I know exactly. I was like, for me, that's what I'm talking. I'm talking about me. I'm speaking for myself here. For Alabama, it'll be easier for us. So yes.
And then we did have some fun upsets. LSU Jordan, what happened? I'm talking to you specifically.
Oh, he was so over it. He was like so pissed off.
He was unwell.
My God. He was unwell. He was like, I'm done with this. I just literally we started watching basketball. I was like, oh my God, I have to watch this game. I'm a game day girly. He was like, I have to tune in. Exactly. Yeah. So yes, it was not pretty. But good for Florida. Honestly, I'm really happy that their administration came out and said that, they're sticking with Napier as their coach, and they have great recruits coming in, and it just kind of builds on the momentum. And so I'm happy for that kind of element for this team. I'm certainly as a LSU fan by proxy, this was not like a fun situation, but as a game day girly, I'm happy to see Florida succeed.
I was happy. I mean, I was happy to see it. I feel like, again, like you said, the whole Bill Napier, everybody wants him out. I think it was a good win for him. So good for them. But yes, they upset LSU 16-27. Another upset we had was New Mexico upsetting Washington State 35-38.
The Pac-2.
The Pac-2 battling it out.
Truly.
And then in the Big 12, we have undefeated BYU losing to Kansas. So this one was a big one.
At home.
At home. This was a big one in the Big 12, kind of opening it up for Colorado to maybe sneak in a little, not even sneak in, but have more of a solidified.
They're very much solidified. Yes.
They're very much in now. Well, not for sure.
In the conversation.
But, yeah. But anyway, so making them undefeated and a conference loss. Kansas upset them 17-13. So.
Woo. Speaking of conference Olympics, I know obviously we talked about this a little bit, but with Jess said, with this BYU loss, it does bring a little bit of a shakeup into the Big 12 when it comes to who's going to match up in the conference championship. It's not as complicated in the Big 12 as it is in the in a couple of other conferences such as the ACC and the SEC. And so this week we want to talk a little bit about kind of what has to happen for some of these teams that do not control their own destiny to make it to the conference championship. So keep in mind, this is not about the playoff, because the playoff is obviously the conference champions get their automatic bid, but these teams that we're talking about still do have a really great chance to make an appearance in the playoff. So today we're going to chit chat about the ACC and the SEC and the teams that are kind of on the bubble. And what they need to do, or what needs to happen, what they need to do, and what they need to be praying for other teams to do in order for them to get into the conference championship game. So we're going to start off with the ACC, and Miss Jess is going to tell us everything that we need to know in order for her Clemson Tigers to get in.
Y'all know I've been mathing. Okay, so in the ACC, I will say I I feel like the winner, or if they don't make it in the conference championship and don't win the conference championship, they will not make it into the playoffs. I feel like there's a lot of scenarios for other conferences where there's potential for there to be 2 people represented.
Or more than 2.
Or more than 2 represented, but I do not see that being the case in the ACC. So
I think that it will be. I think that y'all will definitely get 2 in, like whether that be Miami and SMU. I think that I have a feeling that it could happen.
See, I don't think so. I don't think so. But here's why. One, we already saw this last year. Like, the committee does not hold ACC to high esteem. So it's like, I don't see that happening. And in the scenarios that need to happen, it would be a 2-loss ACC team regardless. That would be the one that didn't win the championship. So that is my POV. Okay. Well, I won't. So we'll see. But anyway, the only team that is vying for a spot right now is my dear beloved Clemson. Miami and SMU are controlling their path. As long as they win out, they're in. And then that would leave Clemson out. So I will be obviously discussing about Clemson in depth today, per usual. So as we said, Clemson needs to win out all of their ACC games. This Pitt game was the last one, so we've done that. So we've done all we can do in our control. So kind of looking at what the other teams need to do in order for us to be in. I think the most surefire way for us to get in is if Miami loses again. They have 2 more. They had a bye this week, and then they have 2 more ACC matchups, one being Wake Forest and the other one being Syracuse. Syracuse, I think, is more so the contender to kind of cause that upset. And it is at Syracuse, so you have that weather factor also coming in, which can be a doozy. So
upstate New York.
Yeah.
You mean Canada?
Yeah.
Canada?
So I do think that one has the higher potential. I mean, but you just never know. Wake Forest could come out and do their big one. So
Wake Forest has been known to, do a little something.
Right. So I'm holding out hope for everybody here. I want Wake Forest to wake up and stand up so we don't have to get to Syracuse. Or if Syracuse can do it too. So those are the 2 games that Miami has left on their docket. And if they lose either one of them, Clemson is pretty much, well, I would say that they would be guaranteed, since we played all of our ACCs. They would be guaranteed the spot, at least one spot.
And I'll be honest, I obviously all these conferences have different like tiebreaker rules and whatnot. The issue with the ACC tiebreaker rule with these specific teams is that none of them have played each other, and so there is no head-to-head matchup to kind of override anything else. So yeah. So that makes it really hard. And that brings me to pretty old SMU. So say Miami wins out, and they would be pretty much guaranteeing their spot. And then SMU, if they were to lose, they would have the exact same record as Clemson, a 2-loss team with 1 loss in the ACC. We would not have played each other, so we don't have the head-to-head matchup. But we do have similar games, in that Pitt was one of them, and Florida State was another one. We both won those games, but how did we win? I feel like the ACC committee would have to look at that. SMU beat Pitt at home. We beat them on the road. Same with Florida State. So it's a lot of kind of things looking at that. But the contingent is that they would have to lose one of their ACC games coming up. So they had Boston College this weekend. They won by the hair of their chinny chin chin. That was a good game. I was into it, but they did win. And so they have Virginia and Cal left. And again, the game is at Virginia, so a little bit of a weather factor there. And also just going on the road can be tough. And Virginia has been a team that can cause some shakeups. I mean, this season isn't
the best for them, but when they play really well, and then they can cause some disruption. So I think that is the key marquee game to look at on SMU's rest of their schedule that they have coming up. So, but if they were to lose just one game, it would be a little bit more of the comparison, looking at who they played, similar opponents, strength of record, strength of schedule, and then the committee would have to decide then Clemson or SMU. So a little bit surefire way is if both Virginia and Cal can pull it off for us, and then SMU loses both games. That'd be wonderful.
Okay.
Wonderful, but unlikely. And as of right now, SMU is the front runner because they're undefeated in the conference. So they're top dogs right now. So yes, Clemson needs to win, which we did. And then Miami needs to lose one. If that happens, then we're in. If that doesn't happen, then SMU needs to lose 2 preferred, but 1 for a discussion for Clemson to make it in.
Whew. Y'all got a lot going on.
The math is mathin'.
It is. And I think it makes it even harder because you guys Clemson has finished their ACC schedule.
Yeah.
And so it's like you are just waiting on the results of everybody else's schedule. So I know I would be sitting there twiddling my thumbs. I'm like, what can I do? But
I know.
Other than cheer for the downfall of Miami and SMU.
Every week. I'm like, it's been done. It can be done again.
It can. There's crazy things. This season has been insane. So I can only imagine just what is left to come. So that's that. Okay. So we have the SEC. The SEC is a little bit more complicated because we are in a position where there could be a 5-way tie. However, the 5-way tie would include Texas, Texas A&M, Georgia, Tennessee, and Alabama. Currently, Texas and Texas A&M really truly do control their own destiny. However, Georgia, Tennessee, and Alabama do not. So we'll start with Georgia because Georgia, obviously, they really needed this win last night against Tennessee, and they certainly handled business. So they have one more game left in SEC play, which is Kentucky. That's upcoming this week. And Georgia needs either Texas A&M or Texas to lose at least one of their remaining SEC games. So Texas A&M is playing Auburn and Texas at the end for the remaining of the season. And then Texas has they've already played Auburn. No, they play Auburn this weekend. I'm sorry. I'm like, I don't even know what today is. Or did they play Auburn this weekend? I'm so confused. They did not. It's upcoming. Yes. They did not. I am literally on another level. I'm on a different planet because I've looked at this a million times. So, and then they play Texas on the 30th. Texas played Arkansas this weekend, and then they have a Texas A&M upcoming, which is essentially like a mini SEC championship game / rivalry game. Like this is what 2000, the early or mid 2000s Alabama, LSU or Alabama Auburn games used to be, whenever they were good and stuff. But so that has to happen for Georgia to have a chance. Yes, not even to like slip in, to have a praying chance. That's where we're at. Now, Tennessee, obviously, with this loss to Georgia, they play Vanderbilt next weekend at Vanderbilt.
That's a down the road, down the street.
Down the street, down the road. However, Vandy, they certainly are trying to shake things up. Yeah. So they need to win that game. And then they need both Texas A&M and Texas to lose one of their remaining SEC games to have a chance. So both of those teams need to lose for Tennessee to have a chance to even come close to Atlanta for the SEC Championship. Lastly, we have Alabama. Alabama has 2 more SEC games at Oklahoma this week, and then at home versus Auburn for rivalry week the weekend after Thanksgiving. So we must win both of those games. We need Tennessee to lose, or we needed Tennessee to lose one of their remaining SEC games, which they did at Georgia. So thank you, Tennessee. Clap, clap, clap to you.
You did your big one.
Exactly. And then we needed Mizzou to lose at least one of their remaining SEC games, which they did. Clap, 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 because they lost at South Carolina this week. So Alabama really, again, needs to win out. And then it would be just at the cherry on top if Tennessee also lost at Vanderbilt, because it really takes them out of the conversation. Because we also, even though we have a head-to-head, but we also have a similar opponent, which would be Georgia. And we both essentially, they lost to Georgia, both of us. So it kind of jumps over. Again, this is all like a calculation where no one, certainly you can't Google SEC championship tiebreaker calculator. It is truly, and it's a moving target. So there is, again, this is calculus Olympics for everyone to figure out like where we're at. But again, Texas and Texas A&M truly do control their own destiny. And quite honestly, we need Texas A&M to beat Texas, because then Texas will also be in the tie situation where they will have 2 losses.
Yeah.
So, and
Crazy.
Also they lost to Georgia. So again, these are all just, it's all just a hot
carry the 1, multiply by 2, PEMDAS.
A mess. And at this point, Ole Miss is not necessarily in contention because of their 2 loss. Like it would almost have to be like mayhem for Ole Miss to get in. So very similar to what team were we talking about earlier? That it would have to be like so crazy. Isn't Syracuse like number 4?
Yeah, I think
with like 3 losses, and the ACC. And then Louisville lost this week too.
Yeah, they did. So
that was
they're out.
Yeah, they're out.
Let me double check the ACC. I see where Clemson lands and how I can get there. I'm sorry, how we can get there, and then
how can I get to Charlotte?
How can I be at Charlotte?
Yes,
in my Clemson gear.
I hear you. I got invited to an event on December 7th, and I was like, that's champion. Like, are you? Why would? And it's like noon to 5. No, I'm busy.
No, baby. No,
all
baby.
Day. No.
Yeah.
So
yeah, Syracuse. But you know what? No. Anyway, I want Syracuse to be Miami. But yeah, Syracuse.
Well, of course we want Syracuse to. We want Miami to lose. We need Miami to lose for Clemson. And it just adds insult to injury. Like, y'all can just lose both games. Just go ahead and just do that. So
it's a 3-way tie for 4th in the ACC. So a lot of ties. A lot of ties everywhere.
Yes. And again, like we said last week, this season is so much different because, again, we only have 4 power conferences, which is different than last year where we had 5. However, we don't have any. We have the same amount of teams, so it is bound to happen that this is going to be kind of the way that it goes moving forward. And this very much kind of like emulates the whole NFL kind of how they do the playoff and how they kind of, figure it out because it's all these different divisions, and it seems like kind of, all the divisions are kind of like our conferences in this case. So again, math and calculus.
Yeah. And then we didn't do the Big Ten. It's a little bit more cut and dry right now, like the Big 12. But, right, the top two right now are Oregon and Indiana. This is for our Big Ten girlies, if you're out there. Oregon and Indiana are holding it down undefeated. But Indiana and Ohio State play each other this week. So if Indiana loses, that opens the door for both Ohio State and Penn State to come in and kind of be in the conversation. So there's some mess that can happen there too if Indiana loses this week. So
I know. Now that is definitely a game, and that's also where game day is this week. So it will be in Columbus, and that if Indiana loses, then we will be talking about the Big 12 or Big 10 next week, because it will certainly be it'll be a climb up there to the top.
Yeah. So there's a lot that can happen there too, but Oregon and Indiana are holding it down as of today.
Well, hopefully our math and calculus and analysis has made sense to everyone. And we'll put this on our social media this week. That way you guys can follow along, because again, it's a lot in order to consider. And there will just be some games this weekend that will make a big difference in how all of the things shake out. So moving on to our games of this week and our predictions for this week. Last week, both Jess and I went 3-1. So, we are chugging along. And my overall record is 42-13. And Jess, you are at 36-19.
I'm slowly catching up.
You are getting there, girlfriend. Come on. Yeah, these picks, you're picking these picks. So we will start off with our ESPN Game Day game of the week. We have Indiana at Ohio State, like we just discussed. And I am going to pick Ohio State. This game's at home. Indiana has not really played anyone, in my opinion. Although whenever I say that, I don't want to take away from the talent of teams, because it does not mean that they're not a talented team. It just, in my opinion, means that they have not been tested as hard as maybe some other teams. So I'm picking Ohio State here for this game.
So I wanted to pick Indiana just because I just cannot stand Ohio State. But I also went back and looked at Indiana's schedule, and I was like, they really have not played anybody. They have not been tested. And despite Ohio State, and as much as I hate them, they have been tested and they've risen to the occasion this season. So I'm also going to pick Ohio State. They're at home.
Right.
But I'm hoping for an Indiana win.
I also, as of right now, and this will change because obviously BYU lost, but like as of the bracket last week, it had Alabama playing at Indiana in December, and I just don't think that will work out well for me. So yeah, I need Indiana to lose.
I want you to know you'll probably be up there anyway.
I know, somewhere cold.
It won't be. If it's not Indiana, it'll be Oregon. If it's not Oregon, it's Ohio.
I know. I'm like, who's like somewhere in the middle? Because it just feels like these cold teams are doing well this year. Like, where's a California team? Whatever. Struggling. So that's my selfish reason for also picking Ohio State.
Oh gosh. Okay. Yes. Going on to our next game, we have Colorado at Kansas. And just a reminder, Kansas just beat undefeated BYU
at home. On the road. They beat them. Yeah. They beat BYU
at BYU. They beat them at BYU. So now they will be at home. However, I am still going with Colorado. They look really, 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 really good. They looked good this last game. I do think Shedeur had some things he needed to work on, but he got it together in their game this week against Utah. But Travis Hunter is playing very well, and when he is on both sides of the ball, it's just hard to deny them a win. So I am giving them a win on the road.
I don't think I've picked Colorado this season, and every time I have not picked them, they have won. So I'm going to pick Colorado also. I agree that they're playing really well, and they really do have a big chance to make it to the Big 12 championship, which is crazy and would be an amazing story. So I'm here for a story. I'm here for Dion. I'm here for it all. So
yes,
I am picking Colorado. Our next game, we have Alabama at Oklahoma. God, we really need to win this game. I know that we will win. I am believing. I'm picking Alabama because I'm believing, and we're playing really well. I just hate that we're playing on the road, and that's just that. But hopeful that we kind of got all of our kinks out this week versus Mercer, and are going to have a great week at practice, and it's going to be...
All will be well.
I'm hopeful. So, Alabama.
I am also picking Alabama, as much as I hate that, because I still love you, Brent. But Oklahoma is just really struggling this season, and Alabama is hitting their stride. So I'm also going with Alabama.
Whew. Good.
And then our last game will be the Citadel at Clemson. And for those who don't know, this is my favorite game because it will be Military Appreciation Day, and they wear their purple uniforms, and they're absolutely my favorite uniforms, and I wish they wore them more throughout the season. And whoever's listening, if you have Dabo's ear, let him know that Jessica said bring the purple out more. But
you said this last year too. I remember.
Well, I'm gonna say it every year because I just love them so much. They look so good. They're my favorite.
I agree. They do look great.
You know,
I wish Dabo would just, not be so damn old school sometimes and just switch it up a little bit. Like with the uniforms, you already don't go in the transfer portal. At least you can give them some uniforms.
Yeah, let's switch it up a little bit. Do purple, but that's okay. So obviously I'm picking Clemson for this game. It should be a good one.
It's at 3:30, so yes. It is during the day. I mean, it's not at night though, so. It's gonna be fine.
The sun will be setting, so
the sun will be. They got to start fast.
Don't drag it out like this week, please.
Right. That game was 4 hours long. But Clemson versus Pitt game was the longest game in eternity. I thought that. I was like, I cannot believe the first quarter of games that started at 3:30 were ending before Clemson and Pitt. Yeah. Finished. So that was insane. So hopefully
with no overtime.
With no overtime. Exactly. It was crazy. But back to this week's game. I'm picking Clemson also. I'm here for the purple uniforms. I think that it'll be fine. It'll be great. And I'm not worried about y'all. So yes, it's really just y'all need to get this game over with so y'all can get with y'all can figure out what's going on with the others.
Yeah, I know. So, again, games to watch this week. We have Auburn for SEC, Texas A&M Auburn. These are the ones we're not picking, but to look out for. Mm-hmm. Texas A&M Auburn. Something to look out for. Virginia.
Tennessee Vanderbilt.
In the ACC, Virginia. SMU, sorry, yes. Virginia, SMU, and also Miami and Wake Forest. I have a feeling Wake Forest is going to wake up.
Yeah. We're going to see. It is at Miami, and Miami had a bye this week. So, you never really know with teams. Some teams do really, play really well after a bye. Some teams do not and are just super sluggish. So we'll see how it goes. Yeah, we'll see how it goes with Miami. And Wake Forest, again, they might have woken up. But again, as always, please go vote in our polls and let us know kind of what games you're watching and what does your team need to do in order to get to the postseason, because It's certainly, again, I want to see y'all's calculus. We did our calculus, but let us know what your team needs to do in order to make it to their conference championship game, because it is that time and we are at week 13. I just can't believe it.
I know. And if you're not in a conference, cough,
Notre Dame.
Just win.
Right. Win. Right. So do everything that you can in order to keep it in your own destiny. Tell your teams that. So, again, thank you guys so much for always listening to us and interacting with us on our socials at the Game Day Girlies on Instagram. And we will see you all next week. So good luck to your teams, and bye, Game Day Girlies.